Just want to make sure I get it right on TV. If you could say your name for me, please.
Robin Mieggs.
Perfect. Cool, Robin. So just to start off, just a little breakdown of the team's performance this past weekend.
We're at championships. It is the season-ending regatta for our team. There were 41 programs there, 2-day event. So on Saturday, you have anywhere between 2 and 4 heats of boats, 6-7 lanes across, and it's a progression system. So if you finish in the top 2 or 3, depending on the size of the heat, you get to go on to the A finals. So I think for us this year, every boat but one progressed to the A finals, and that's a pretty spectacular year for us because I don't think we've done that since 2011. We had some moderate success last year at the Weir Championships, but to have that matriculation, I think speaks volumes to the training that they did this year. And we had we put all of our priority boats in the morning, so the first big race of the day for us is the Women's Varsity 8. Some very competitive programs, and we matriculated into the A final. Our 2v8, we were competing against a lot of Division III programs where that is one of their ranking events for the national championships. So their relative boat speed is at times generally faster than Division II because we don't necessarily subscribe to that event, and we made the grand final. Women's Varsity 4, which is one of our Division II ranking boats for the national championships, we definitely gained a tremendous amount of speed this weekend, but it was really in the middle of the day, and the stroke got extremely sick from the heat. And so while we gained a lot of momentum, she basically suffered from heat exhaustion after that race. And so we matriculate to the grand final, but it definitely affects our ability to perform well in that A final. Women's Novice 8, again, makes to A final. But our Women's Novice 4 is where we faltered. There were 24 Novice 4s, and they did more of a time trial. In the progression of the time trial, we made the team final, and we raced that afternoon in the team final. So Sunday morning's races, first race for us, of course, is the Varsity 8, and we come out the door like gangbusters, and we are there vying for a really great opportunity to rank well for the national championships. And it's coming down to that final 350 meters, and in the heat of the moment, the coxswain doesn't call the sprint, and the athletes have no idea where they are on the course, and we finished 2 seconds behind in a race opportunity that we really could have won. And the bittersweetness of that is that we will not see Western Washington or Seattle Pacific or University of Central Oklahoma again this season. So our only opportunity to do well will be to go to Dad Bales, which is a week from tomorrow, and race UCSD, who is already in a very strong qualifying position. Women's 2v8, we knew that this was going to be a pretty remarkable race, and the coxswain of that boat actually had the opportunity to watch the Varsity 8 come down and to watch that misstep in the final 250 meters. And the boats that took second, third, and fourth, there was 1 second time difference between them all, and they really played it well. And to make the podium, I'm not sure that we've made the podium in this event in over 10 years. So just prompts to the depth of the team. Women's Varsity 4, in that situation where you had a student that had suffered a lot of heat exposure, we did better than I thought we would, but we didn't have an opportunity to race competitively and beat any of the teams that we really needed to beat. So again, there's a lot that's gonna to rely on Dad Bales, and women's novice 8 petite final. We didn't do exceptionally well in the event, but we made the A final, which I think was really important for them to understand. We also raced a pair and a double at the end of both Saturday and Sunday. Both of those boats went to the A final. Both of those boats took 5th. And then in the culmination of the regatta, we won the team points and came away as team points champions from Ware. So I felt like it's an amazing regatta, and it was just pretty much for the coaching staff nonstop from about 5 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Saturday, and then half day racing on Sunday. So it's a good way to finish the season for the team, but we still have a lot of work to do in trying to go out there and find some competitiveness out in Philadelphia, which is one of those storied race courses. It's on Boathouse Row. It's the Schuylkill River. But if you don't get in lanes 3 and 4, it can make or break your ability to go on to the national championships. And unfortunately for us, it's going to come down to that.
So is this the 3rd year in a row that you guys have won the team points then at the Wira? Or?
I'm trying to think. I think maybe it is. So it's. I think there'll be some probably changes going into next year's Wira Regatta, where they'll switch over exclusively to an efficiency. So I think we saw University of Central Oklahoma take home the efficiency trophy this year. They won the women's varsity 8. They won the women's varsity 4 for Division 2. Those are that's the team that's going to come out of the West region, probably as the number 1 bid for the national championships, and they did a stellar job.
How would you say your performance differed? I mean, you've been fairly successful every year for the past few years, it seems like. How would you say this year was different from years past?
I think last year was a really tough year for us. I think if there was anything that could have gone wrong, it did. And it was a very frustrating season, I think, not only for the athletes, but for the coaching staff as well. And going into this year, the promise I made myself was that I would use no excuses, right? So, Coxon didn't call the sprint. There's no excuse, right? So you live with it and you keep fighting. You keep fighting, and that's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep fighting, because it's easy to feel pity, to feel sorry. We saw the hangdog looks on the kids after racing, and that's what I told them. I said, are you done? Is this over for you? And they were like, well, no. And it's like, well, okay, then start thinking, start fighting for the future, and that's what we're gonna do. And it was my colleague from UC San Diego who helped put it in perspective for me. You just have to keep fighting, and that's what we're gonna do.
So Dead Vale's right a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, we will go to Dead Vale's. Racing is on Friday and Saturday format. You have heats, repechage, and finals, and the announcement for NC2As is May 19th. So our goal is to hopefully go out there and knock it out of the park. And
what are the things that you think in this week you got to work on the most?
We spent a fair amount of time talking about the race plan, and there's this trust that you put in to the teams, right? Because you have so many different boats that you give them a very good script, and then they sit down and they come up with what works for them in these certain types of calls. And it's not easy to be a coxswain, because you make or break the ability to win races, and we've seen this before, not just on Sunday of this past weekend, but throughout the course of the years. That race plan is important. You have a race plan so that when you have people who are performing at a heart rate of 195, 196, the kind of physical pain that they're in coming down that course, you have to trust the person that's driving that boat to keep you so focused on what you're doing that they're willing to give you everything they have and a little bit more, because you know exactly where you are. And you get in what we saw in the grand finals this weekend, the A finals this weekend, where you had 7 boats with contact and bow. The first place crew 1 second later, the second place crew, 1 second later, third place crew, right? We're talking seconds now, and that's a demonstration of the depth of Division II rowing and where it's going. So if we thought we had worked on race plan, I feel like we executed it better on Sunday, but both Saturday and Sunday, we did not hit that sprint. And that killed us, that cost us. It's pivotal. So to have an opportunity to go and race one more time would be, you have to really be able to have that race plan where your rowers they trust you immensely, because it is a brutal, painful sport, and you don't see where you're going. Your back is facing the finish line, so it's not like you're running towards it. Only one person can see that finish line. That's a coxswain. And there's a lot of distractions out there. You think about a 60-foot boat, 3 speakers down that boat, and you have 7 coxswains, driving those boats like jockeys on horses. And there's the voice of the coxswain, there's the voice of the other coxswains, there's the crowd, there's the water. There's just so many external things that are going on that it's definitely easy to lose focus. So you need a strong voice.
And you're going to be in Philadelphia in a week. It doesn't seem like the team, just on the nature of the sport, has to travel that far usually. Is that correct? Or
well, Dad Vels has been a silver lining for Humboldt State. I probably, we've been to the national championships 11, 12, 14, 15, 16. I think maybe 5 of the 6 times we earned that right to go in Philadelphia.